Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with morsels of a thought number 1522. Can you imagine how much energy it takes to create 1522 live shows consecutive days since January 2nd, 2021? We have been here every morning for morsels of a thought of wisdom, usually borrowed wisdom, most of the time borrowed wisdom, since I am not so wise. But morsels of a thought of wisdom. Wisdom is for people to know the right thing to do, and virtue is actually the doing of the right thing. So that's what I want to do, is get more virtue into this world. I was hoping to do that some other way when I was creating my aspirations. But I think this little show is a good idea because it gets to people. You can come back and look for it. And if you like Epictetus, come every Monday. If you want to look at the Stoics, and if you want to go to Financial Friday, go to Financial Friday. If you want to see a series, do Saturdays and Sundays. The rules are on Tuesdays and Thursdays, TR Tuesday, TR Thursday. And then we've got Words and Wisdom Wednesdays. Usually quotes from people, usually something somebody else says. And oftentimes it's from a book of virtues by William J. Bennett. William J. Bennett was a classmate of my mom's best friend, who in Washington State grew up on an island, which her family donated to the government later on. Anyway, so where's the book? Let me see, where did I put it? Oh, there it is. Okay. So here we are. And we're back to Epictetus. And we are on the part that I was. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Today is 1522. So it's over here. Okay. So we read up to on preconceptions. On preconceptions. See, I didn't fill in the bubble. I just had a bubble in here and I needed to fill it in. That's a method for you guys. A wise method. You take a bubble and you fill it in when your thing is done. See, that can change the world for many people all by itself. You put a bubble next to your task, and when it's not done, it's an empty bubble. So you see an empty bubble, you know you have something to do. And if you fill it in, you know it's done. If you don't have it complete, you fill it halfway in, and you know it's halfway done. Well, partly done anyway. So there's a method for you, and that's a word to the wise to use that method if they can't think of anything else. So 1.22 Epictetus, the Complete Works Handbook, Discourses and Fragments. We are on Discourses, Book 1, edited and translated by Robin Waterfield. I wish I knew if it was a Dr. Waterfield, a Mr. Waterfield, or a Ms. Waterfield. I need to know this. I've got to find out. I will find out for you. Anyway, not yet. So, 1.22 on preconceptions. Preconceptions are common to all people, and there's no conflict between one preconception and another. Is there anyone who doesn't believe that anything that's good is advantageous and choice-worthy, and that we should make it our goal and aim in every situation? Is there anyone who doesn't believe that anything just is honorable and fitting? So when does conflict occur? In the application of preconceptions to particular instances. For instance, when someone says, "He behaved honorably, he's a brave man," and someone else says, "You're wrong. In fact, he's out of his mind." That's how conflict occurs between people. Hence, the conflict that exists between Jews, Syrians, Egyptians, and Romans is not over the principle that holiness should always be one's top priority and should be one's goal in all circumstances, but whether the particular act of, say, eating pig meat is holy or unholy. Look at that. Today, we still have this conflict. Today, 2025, this guy lived thousands of years ago. Goodness gracious, my goodness. And here we are, the same conflicts. People never change. A leopard doesn't change its spots, but it is indeed possible. Now they have discovered, they used to say DNA was 99% unchangeable. As a matter of fact, when you instill virtue into the mind of a person, and a person has their DNA, the virtue actually changes your DNA. How do I know this? I've done YXLST. Look up YXLST. I won't go into it right now. But whether the particular act of, say, eating pig meat is holy or unholy. Now, the reason that they did that was of trichinosis. Trichinosis in the old days was a disease that came from eating, that pigs had, a disease that pigs had, and the disease caused something to people. I don't know if it was death or illness, but it was not a good thing to eat pig meat at that time. That's why the Muslims, I call them Muslims. Some people say Muslims. I like Muslims. Anyway, Muslims decided they were going to be clean, and they prayed 5 times a day, which meant that they had to go to the water faucet and wash their hands and feet every day, 5 times. When they were working in the fields, come pray 5 times a day. That meant you had to wash your hands and wash your feet. So in those days, actually, Muslims were considered more clean than the other religious people, and eating pig meat was a sense of being clean. That's why they called it unholy to eat pig meat. But as a matter of fact, it has its raw beginnings in trichinosis. Anyway, number 5 of this, we've read 1 through 4 just now. You'll find that the same goes for the conflict between Agamemnon and Achilles as well. Call them to testify. What do you think, Agamemnon? Shouldn't one do what is right and behave honorably? Of course. And what do you think, Achilles? Do you agree that one should behave honorably? Yes, absolutely. So now apply these generalizations to the particular case. That's where the conflict arises. One of them says, I'm not obligated to return Chryseis to her father, and the other one says, yes, you are. It goes without saying that one or the other of them is misapplying the preconception of what it's right to do. Again, by the way, this is indirect speech in Latin. What it's right to do, what it is right to do. It is right to do is an indirect form of saying it's right to do. Anyway, so they really wrote like that. In the old days, they really wrote like that. Latin was actually a far more complex language than English is. So all these parenthetical phrases, they were true. They really wrote like that. Robin Waterfield was being truthful to the translation. Again, one of them says, well, if I have to give Chryseis back, it's only right that one of you should give me his war prize. And the other says, so is it my concubine you want to take? Yes, yours, comes the reply. Am I alone to be without a war prize? But am I alone to have nothing? That's how conflict arises. So what is education? Learning to apply your natural preconceptions to particular instances in accord with nature. And also gaining the ability to recognize that some things are up to us and some aren't. Up to us are will and everything that results from will. Not up to us are the body, the parts of the body, possessions, parents, brothers, children, the country of our birth. They didn't say sisters. And in short, all the people with whom we associate. That's a parenthetical phrase, and that wasn't Waterfield. Anyway. So where will we find what's good for us? To what should we apply the concept? To what's up to us? But then where does that leave health and unimpaired body and life? Aren't they good? Do you really mean that not even our children, parents, or homeland are good things? Do you expect to get away with saying that? All right then let's apply the concept to the things you mentioned instead. So, is it possible to be happy if one's body is impaired and no one fails to get So, is it possible to be happy if one's body is impaired and one fails to get good things? No, it's not. What about treating one's associates right? How is that possible when it's natural for me to look out for my own interests? If it's good for me to have a plot of land, it's also good for me to take my neighbor's plot of land. If it's not good, and if it's good for me to have a toga, it's also good for me to steal one from the bathhouse. This is how war starts, and civil strife, tyranny, intrigue. Moreover, it'll be impossible for me to worship Zeus appropriately, won't it? If my body's impaired and I'm a wretched failure, he doesn't care for me. And so, damn him if he can't help me. Or again, damn him if it's his will that I'm doing so badly. And then I begin to hate him. Why do we build temples for Zeus and set up cult statues when he treats us as evil spirits do or as fever does? How can he possibly be the savior, the bringer of rain, the fruitful? But if we locate the essence of goodness in externals, all these consequences necessarily follow. What are we to do then? Getting to the bottom of this issue is what a true philosopher does, one who's in labor. At present, I can't see what's good and what's bad. Am I out of my mind then? Yes. But if I locate goodness here, among the things that are subject to my will, everyone will mock me. Some white-haired old man, his fingers dripping with gold rings, will come up to me and then, with a shake of his head, he'll say, "Listen to me, child. There's nothing wrong with doing philosophy, but you've got to keep your head. What you're doing at the moment is stupid. Philosophers can teach you how to argue, but you know better than they do what you should be doing. What so why are you telling me off, sir, if I know that? What can I say to this slave? If I say nothing, he loses his temper. So I'd better say, please excuse me as you would someone who's in love. I can't help myself. I'm out of my mind." What you're doing at this moment is stupid. Come down from there. Come down from there. Good girl. Good girl. Chase your tail instead. That's a good idea. 1.23, against Epicurus. Epicurus understands as well as anyone that it's in our natures to be social, but since he's committed to locating what's good for us in the shell that is our body, he can't say anything that contradicts this. Because he next resolutely insists, and he's right in this respect, that we shouldn't value or accept anything that's unrelated to the nature of the good. So why, if it's not natural for us to feel affection for our offspring, do we regard with suspicion your suggestion that a wise man won't have any children of his own? Why are you worried that children will cause him distress? Does the mouse that's growing up in his household cause him distress? Why should it bother him if a little house mouse bursts into tears in his presence? Sorry. A house mouse bursts into tears in your presence. What do you do? What do you do? No, Epicurus knew that. Once a child is born, it's impossible for us not to love it and care for it. This also explains why he says that a sensible person won't have a public career. He knows what a public career necessarily entails. I mean, after all, if you intend to treat the company of other people as though they were flies, there's nothing to stop you. Nevertheless, even though he's well aware of what I've been saying, he still has the audacity to say that we shouldn't raise children. But sheep don't abandon their offspring, nor do wolves. And a human does? Take your pick. Are people as foolish as sheep? Sheep don't abandon their offspring. Or are they as savage as wolves? Wolves don't abandon their offspring either. Tell me, does anyone who sees his child crying after falling to the ground find this idea of yours plausible? It's my opinion that even if your parents had guessed that one day you'd think as you do, they still wouldn't have thrown you out of the house. Very interesting. How to combat difficult circumstances, 1.24. A person's caliber is revealed by different difficult circumstances, and so when a difficulty occurs, think of it as God pitting you as a trainer might against a tough training partner. To what end? Someone asked. To help you become an Olympic victor, which takes sweat. Anyway, it seems to me that no one has ever had a better difficulty than the one you have now. If you're prepared to use it as an athlete uses a training partner. Now, we're currently in the process of sending you off to Rome as a spy, but no one sends a coward out on such a mission, someone who's terrified of the slightest noise or glimpse of a shadow and comes running back to report that the enemy has already arrived. So, in the present instance, suppose you were to return to us and say, the situation in Rome is very frightening. Death, banishment, abuse, poverty, all are terrifyingly widespread. Run for your lives, men, the enemy is here. If you do that, we'll say to you, go away, save your predictions for yourself. Our only mistake was to have entrusted the mission to a coward like you. Your predecessor as a spy, Diogenes, brought us back a different report. Death is no evil, he says, since it involves no shame. Disfavor is just noise produced by crazy people, he says. And see what this spy has to say about pain, pleasure, and poverty. Simple clothing is better than any purple-trimmed toga. There's no bed more comfortable than the bare ground. And as proof of each of his claims, he offers his courage, his serenity, his freedom, and also his body hardened and glowing with health. There's no enemy nearby, he says. Peace prevails everywhere. How can you say that, Diogenes? Look at me, he replies. Have I been hit by any missile? Have I been injured? Have I fled before anyone's assault? That is what it is to be a proper spy. But you bring us back a totally different kind of report. Why don't you go back and take a closer look without succumbing to cowardice? What am I to do, then? What do you do when you leave a boat? You don't take the rudder or the oars with you, do you? What do you take? The things that belong to you, your oil flask and bag. In the present case, too, all you need to do is remember what's yours and you won't claim anything that isn't. Take off your senatorial toga, he says. See, now I'm wearing an equestrian toga. Take that off too. See, now I'm wearing a plain toga. Take it off. See, now I'm naked. But I'm still envious of you. Take my entire body then. If I'm capable of flinging my body at someone, what reason could I have to fear him? You know something? It's interesting because there was this person on TV who was naked and the police didn't touch him, wouldn't touch him, And also in Africa, there have been documentaries of people who said that they used to battle in war naked, thinking that the bullets could not penetrate them because there was a protection in being naked, fighting a war. It's very interesting how nakedness has played a part in wars, in things like this. But he won't remember me in his will. So what? Have I forgotten that none of these things is mine? The only sense in which they're mine, then, is the sense in which we say that a bed in an inn is mine. So, if on his death the innkeeper leaves you his beds, but if he leaves them to someone else, they'll be his, and you'll have to look for another bed. If you don't find one, you'll sleep on the ground. But be sure to do so free of care, snoring away, and bearing in mind that tragedies are played out among the rich, among kings and tyrants, while no one who's poor plays a part unless he happens to be a member of the chorus. Kings start out from prosperity, deck the palace with garlands, but then round about the third or fourth act, O Cithaeron, why did you receive me? Slave, where are your garlands? Where is your diadem? Where's the help from your bodyguards? So when you approach any of these people, remember this about them, that you're approaching a character in a tragedy, not the actor, but Oedipus himself. That's a Greek play. Oedipus was the guy who slept with his mother. But he's blessed with good fortune. I mean, wherever he goes, he's surrounded by people. Me too. I join a crowd and I'm surrounded by people wherever I go. But the crucial point is this. Remember that the door is open. Don't show yourself to be more of a coward than children are, but just as they say, I shan't play anymore when they don't like a game. So when you feel that things have got too difficult, say, I shan't play anymore and take your leave. But if you stay, no complaining. So we are on the same topic next week, 1.25. It's literally called the same topic. It's literally subtitled the same topic. And then after that, what is the law of life? And then after that, how many ways are there for impressions to arise, and what resources should we make sure we have at hand to help us with them? These are life's questions, really life's questions, that we ought not to get angry with people and what is trivial or important in human life. Those are the 4 topics that we're going to be heading for next week. This time I'm going to pause here because the same topic is going to be about 10 or 12 minutes at the very least, probably 15 minutes. So instead of starting in on that, we will pause here. And I shall say again that I want this show to become something where people take morsels of a thought of wisdom every day. And knowing the right thing to do is wisdom, is a part of wisdom. And then doing it is virtue. So, as the fortune cookie says, let's bring in more virtue into the world. Whoever wrote that fortune cookie, I really, really appreciate you. Oh, even my cats are saying they agree. I have cats. Yes, I have cats. There are men who have as many cats as I do. I have found out yesterday. I know a family as well who have as many cats as I do. I didn't intend to have very many cats, but I do. One cat begets another, as it seems. I'll never know the reason why I went and picked up Esri, but Esri had this big brown eyes. Oh, I should show you Esri when Esri was a little baby. Esri looks like this today. See this photo? Let me pull it out so you can see it better. Pull it out. You see this? Oops. Sorry. Well, you saw it for a second, so. Okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Old Kinderhack.